Hey, good afternoon or good morning. Good afternoon from me, but good morning to North America and Canada. Welcome to the August RD Masterclass from the US Trail Running Conference. Before we dive into this month's session, we're excited to bring you news on the 2024 US Trail Running Conference that takes place in Knoxville, Tennessee, October 23rd to the 25th, 2024. And yeah, we encourage you to join us for this unique opportunity to spend 3 days with some of the best race directors and event organizers from North America and Canada. The conference represents terrific value with education, inspiration, networking, expo with services and products designed to help you put on great races, an RD mentor program, and a varied and broad content that will appeal to all comers. We are running a summer special discount offer at this moment of 20% off our standard pricing for a limited time. For anyone out here that hasn't yet registered, feel free to email me at terry@ustrailrunningconference.com to talk about your race and see if our conference will be a good fit for you. And details of the offer are on the scrolling banner below. But feel free to reach out to me if you want to do want to take advantage of that offer. So we're excited to have our focus for this RD Masterclass webinar in our 2024 series on sustainability in the sport. And we're fortunate to have 3 brands that will be part of our expo here. Although only 2 brands are on here at the moment, I'm hoping the 3rd brand will come online in due course. So when he gets here, then a big welcome to, here is Anthony. There we go, good timing. Okay, Anthony, I just mentioned your name. Good morning.
Good morning. It worked.
It worked. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we are fortunate to have 3 brands that will be a part of our expo at the conference this year. So a big welcome to Anthony Foster from Marathon Printing Inc.
Thank you.
Hey, Anthony. Kim Ashworth from Ashworth Awards.
Hello. Hi, Anthony.
Hey, thank you. And Chris Memelink from Headsweats as well.
Morning, Chris.
Morning. Thank you.
Morning,
okay.
Chris.
And yeah, we thank each of you for agreeing to participate in this session. So initially, I want to say a big vote of thanks to our presenting sponsor for this RD Masterclass series and the conference as well, to Marathon Printing Inc. For those of you that don't know them already, Marathon Printing is a family-owned company that specializes in producing custom printed items for endurance sports. Race bibs are their most popular item, either custom printed or stock bibs. Marathon Printing also supplies vital accessories for race directors like pins, bags, and pennant flags, as well as postcards, business cards, brochures, bumper stickers, and labels. They have also been a loyal supporter of the US Trail Running Conference since 2015. So thank you, Anthony, for your loyal support there, and also an event standard partner for ATRA. We're very grateful to Ryan Zirk and Anthony and the team at Marathon Printing for their support of this webinar series. And without their support, then we wouldn't be able to bring you this series for free. So, so thank you so much, Anthony, and to your team for helping support us in this way. Before we get going on the webinar itself, I think we're pretty much all aware now, more aware of the problems that we are facing and how nature is changing literally in front of our eyes. As trail runners, we can often take for granted our special relationship with Earth and nature. However, sometimes when we dig deep, we can find that we can do much more to solve the issues that we face. Much progress has been made, and today's session is about discussing what brands and the sport can do to make further progress. With actions and wisdoms, we can each find out how to go one step further by thinking about what we can each do to help. So, Anthony, we're going to start with you this morning. So it is like jumping in the deep end. Here we go.
Okay. How much time do I have?
How much time do you? Oh, you have about 2.5 minutes. No.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for having me. I look forward to participating and sharing a little bit about our company and the influence we have in the running space, and striving to further a sustainable sport, you know, to keep people happy and take care of our planet. But first off, I just want to talk about the elephant in the room. We are a manufacturing company. We print, we produce with the hopes of selling with recurring customers. So creating a sustainable product that people will come back and purchase is kind of maybe a dichotomy, two ends of the spectrum. So with that said, it did cause me to do some research and to really think about how can we contribute and not just recycle cans and say that we're sustainable. So I did a little bit of brainstorming and some options that I would like to talk about are sustainable Tyvek race bibs, and most people in the running space know what Tyvek race bibs are. It's the cheapest, the most durable, the waterproof, tear-resistant product that's out there. COVID taught us that we had to diversify and find something else temporarily while Tyvek wasn't available to us. But there are other options that people can do to help kind of reduce waste. And our most common size bib is a 7.5 by 6 bib. And then our other common bib is a medium size, which is a 7.5 by 7.5. But what most people don't know is that it doesn't have to be those sizes. So you can choose a 4 by 6 bib, which can decrease waste by 40%. And so that's a great option. You can still have all your design. You can still have all the usage that's applicable to a race bib, but just not use quite so much product. Another option is just using variable data, meaning personalized names. So if you know you have 100 participants, don't order 300 bibs. Just order the 100 bibs with a personalized names. And so if people come late or, you know, register late or come to the event on site, it kind of, you know, brings this attraction of, oh, I get a personalized bib if I pre-register. But if I come to the event and I register late or I register on site, maybe I just get a Tyvek wristband, which again, that reduces the waste by 80%. So all your on-site registrants just get a race band, still has the same art, logo, identifier that a bib would have, but it's just less product. Another one is what I would call a minimalist design. And so I was kind of thinking last night about trail runs and the different events that have multiple, like one of my customers, I won't mention her name, but Honorary Racing, she'll do multiple events. And so I thought, well, maybe what if you had like, and I've seen Ashworth do this too. What if you do like multiple events on one race bib? And so if you have, let's say, 2 events with one vendor, you could have what we'd call a down perf or a cross perf, and you tear it off and you wear one half for this event, another half for your next event, but it's all in the same bib. Or if you have 3, you would have 2 perfs, or if you had 4 events, you would have like a cross perf and then you just tear off one section for the event that you're going to run. We haven't done a lot of those, but hey, thinking out of the box, right? Another option that I had, this is probably my favorite because it's not necessarily promoting recurring customers, but it's something that I would definitely consider. So this would be what I would call a reusable option. So for example, you go to a 3D movie or you go to Disney World, Disneyland, and you get those glasses and you wear it during the event. And then as you walk out, you throw it in the bin and then you walk out and you go to your next event. So what if we had a more rigid race bib that could be reusable? So when the runner crosses the finish line, they would drop that bib into a race bin, and then that could be used for maybe 2 or 3 more events. So that would be considered a reusable option. And then obviously there's recyclable options. For Tyvek isn't wonderful right now. I did some research on it last night again. The only person that I can really find that really supports that is Jeff Jackson with Happy Planet Running, and he provides a service there. Yeah. And he provides a service, and I've talked to you, Jeff, a little bit about how you can do that. And it's nice to meet you in person.
Thank you. Had to unmute.
It's nice. It's nice to see you. But you seem to be the only one out there that has, great options for recyclable. Even DuPont, I still cannot find great options with DuPont's website on how to recycle printed Tyvek bibs. So I would support Jeff Jackson for sure. And then the question was asked, Terry, what is the possible future direction for the sport? And I came up with just a few ideas that I had. And one of them I'm going to save for the very end because it's something that I want to possibly launch for the US Trail Running Conference in Knoxville. But obviously, I think, as we look into the future of Tyvek, we're going to see more recycled materials made of fabrics or plastics that can reduce, obviously, their resources. Right now, Tyvek is a great recyclable product because Tyvek itself is made from plastic, which is recyclable. But once you print on it, it becomes unrecyclable. So I'm not really sure exactly what the process is for that. But I can imagine a material that's out there. And we've looked into it. They're just right now 3 to 4 times the price. Biodegradable materials, I can see that in the future for sure. That would be a plant-based fiber, compostable plastic, obviously things that would break down much quicker than plastic. And here is the last option or actually there's 2 other options that I came up with for future direction for sustainable printing. One is eco-friendly inks. In fact, the marathon team, we're going to go to a print expo in just 2 weeks to look at some eco-friendly print options. Currently, right now, we're using toner and ink-based, but there are a lot of really good solvent-based inks out there that we just haven't utilized yet. So we're going to look into that and see how we can adapt that to our process. Lastly, this is the thing I want to possibly try at US Trail Running Conference. And I'm not really sure how this even came up to me, but this was an option, and this would be an item that I would call a digital bib. And there's all kinds of kind of scariness with that because it creates an avenue for bandits for sure to just copy and screenshot a digital bib and use it for themselves or someone else. But there are some ways that I think we can do it. Basically, what it would be was I would generate, let's say, 100 bibs that I would normally print 1 to 100, and I would prefer to use variable data, so Terry Chiplin, Jeff Jackson, etc. And then you would get a QR code. You'd scan that QR code, or you would get it emailed to you, and then that digital bib would show up on your iPhone or Android or whatever kind of phone you use, and it would be personalized to you. And that's nothing that we would print. It would probably cost the same amount, but you could run with a bib. It could be tracked. It can be timed. There are lots of cool functions that would be available to the runner. That would be the most sustainable to the sport. That's all I have.
Wow, Anthony, thank you. What it's wonderful to hear the ideas that you've been brainstorming. So thank you. I'm really pleased with the ideas that you presented there, and I look forward to hearing more about it at the conference. And yeah, I think that's fabulous, mate. Thank you.
Welcome. Thanks, Terry.
Great start. What a great introduction. Okay, and for those of you that I don't know if you check out the scrolling banner at the bottom, but before we do that, here we go. Yay! Okay. All right, special surprise. Whoever asks the 2 best questions during this webinar today, each of you will get a Marathon Printing beanie sent to you. Yeah? Okay. So thank you, Anthony, and thank you for reminding me of that. But Marathon Printing have also got a special offer that's scrolling at the bottom at the moment, and yeah, they're giving 15% off. And use the discount code as it comes through, USTRC 15. Yeah, if you go to marathononline.com and USTRC 15 and save 15% off. So Anthony, thank you so much. It's so great to work with you and Ryan and the team, and bless you. Okay. All right, Kim, you're next up. So I'm just going to take the banner off there, and next up. Okay. Kim, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and
Sure.
then I will just let me know when you're ready, and I can play your video.
Sure, sure. Good morning, afternoon, evening. I know that people are from all over. It's nice to see everyone, and really happy to be part of this panel. Sustainability is something that is near and dear to our hearts here at Ashworth Awards for a significant number of years. And we incorporate it into everything that we do. So we are a full-line domestic manufacturer based out of Massachusetts, and we do also import products as well. In every opportunity, we work to ensure that what we are producing is truly sustainable, right down from what we're producing to when we're sourcing raw materials, after things are shipped, what we do with it, even how we are shipping our items. We do have a nice video to kind of explain it a little bit more, but just to speak a little bit to all of our dimensional steel medallions, it's sourced from recycled steel. That is one thing in the US that most steel is recycled, or the steel that we source. We try to source it as locally as possible to reduce our carbon footprint. And then it also can be recycled. The powder coating that we apply to the dimensional steel metals are it's much better than any of the metal finishing that you've seen, metal plating. So it's good. It's definitely even better for the environment. The inks that we use to decorate, it is all water soluble inks. So we don't have, so we have that as another layer, as well as all of the sublimated ribbons that we are attaching, and stock ribbons are all made from recycled PET. So we are making our products from recycled products, and then you can recycle the steel again, you can recycle the PET ribbons, and then all of our wood, obviously wood is sustainable because, and it's all, we source it locally from a local, it's not from the forest, it's from a true tree farm, so we're not deforesting an area. And even our acrylics, we recycle our acrylic. So acrylic, we all know what it is, but we also take it and we recycle it. And then right down to our packaging. So we are committed to non-plastic packaging across the board. That's something we've been doing for, I'd say, at least 3 years now. So we're not using plastic bags unless it's something that has been requested by the customer or for a specific way that we need to package something. But we use paper packaging to protect all of our medals, awards, whatever it might be. We use paper tape. We don't use plastic tape. We use paper tape, which again can be recycled. Obviously cardboard boxes, but we also take any cardboard that we bring into our facility and we reuse it. And we purchased a cardboard shredder that we use so that we can use that for our packaging material. So we are then recycling and reusing what is brought in as opposed to it landing into a landfill. And biodegradable packing peanuts. That's something we've been using for, 10, 15 years now, before, sustainability was a thing. And that really originated from our daughter, who now is our CPO here at Ashworth Awards. When she was younger, we talked about sustainability and all that. And I would say younger, 15 years ago, when she was 10. And she said, "Why are you using packing peanuts? Just end up being thrown away." So she was, something that she had us say, yeah, let's source something and see what else we can do so that we are reducing our waste as well, and just overall reducing that carbon footprint. So that's a big mouthful of stuff, but I wanted to explain what you're going to see in our video, and if anybody has any questions. But we are very truly committed to sustainability and reducing the carbon footprint of our own company as well as our customers' events. So if you'd like to play the video, that would be great, Terry.
Fabulous. Okay. Beautiful. Nice video, Kim. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
A couple of questions for you, Kim, if I can.
Sure.
Yeah. The first is just thinking about kind of what has been the driver behind you moving to thinking about being more sustainable. Is it something that you as a company taking responsibility for, or have you also had clients say, "Hey, we'd love to use you, but we're concerned about the the sustainability of your product." So
right,
what's been the main driver?
So it's really twofold. As a company, we are always very conscientious of making sure that to reduce our carbon footprint. But really it started, I'd say probably 5-6 years ago. We had customers in certain key areas that explained to us that, when we talked about what their needs were at their event, whether it's that they didn't want to see plastic bags floating away, or just the challenge of working with plastic bags on, because every single medal and award needs to be covered with something for shipping. So we said, what's a better packaging opportunity, or what's a better way that we can package that is sustainable but also better for our customers to use at the finish line per se. But we did have customers tell us that they had certain sustainability initiatives, and just to get their license at their city or town or whatever it might be, then they needed to decrease their plastic usage, or they needed to increase the sustainability of the products that they were using, sourcing, and even the companies that they were working with. I mean, there's lots of bids that we've done with some recent very large events, marathons, half marathons and whatnot. And the sustainability piece is part of that bid process. And for us to show our sustainability initiatives and what we are doing to source, manufacture, recycle, all that we're doing. And that's a piece of the bid. It's not just the financial component. It's not just the design that we create. It's not just the end product, but as a company, are we truly, living those sustainability values? Because I think it's just become much more, prevalent and, front of mind for, for everyone, not just the event, but the city, for our, just for the environment that we live in. And that's a piece. Being a domestic manufacturer, we've expanded. Pre-COVID, we soft launched this dimensional steel line, and it was as if we had a crystal ball. Most people said, "I can't even believe," it's like you knew something was coming. So we really have expanded our manufacturing and just kind of brought much more manufacturing back, because I would say at least 75 to 80% of our customers are in North America. So that's another way of reducing the carbon footprint, is we don't have, the air freight, the airlines, just being cognizant of that. And as we continue to expand our product offerings and what we can manufacture and produce for the key target, market of our customers that are predominantly in North America, we just feel that it's that much better.
Brilliant. You mentioned financial implications. So I'm just thinking, for many race directors out there, I'm wondering if they're thinking, if we have something that's more sustainable, we're going to have to pay more for this. So is there a price premium to become?
No, we are very competitively priced. And like I said, we do still import medallions as well. There are certain things that we aren't able to accomplish with our product line here in the US than overseas. But if you were to look at it apples to apples, we are actually pretty close price-wise of what you would be paying for an import medal versus the sustainable made in USA medal. And if you really looked at it apples to apples, more likely than not, the pricing is going to be less made in the US, because you don't have air freight. You don't have it coming from overseas. So if we can ground ship or freight ship from our facility in Massachusetts to another North American customer, that is much less. So if you're looking at your per piece value, if you roll in that shipping cost as well, it's a lot more expensive to ship from overseas. There's a lot more control as well in terms of the timelines, and you're not dealing with customs, which I know that any given point, any race that has ever sourced overseas, that's, you know, something that's definitely something in the back of their mind. We've had, you know, boats, you know, sitting out in the Pacific. They couldn't even get to the dock several years ago because of strikes and whatnot. And then just the other layer is these metals, they're digitally rendered, so there's no dye. So it's a lot less expensive, where an average dye for, you know, a 2.5, 3-inch metal is in around the $200 range, where it's just a $45 setup charge. So financially, you know, we really were very cognizant in, you know, sourcing all of our raw materials to really keep that price point down, so that there isn't a financial, you know, implication, and time as well. If somebody wants the, you know, least expensive pricing for something coming from overseas, it's a boat shipment that ranges anywhere from like 12 to 16 weeks out to the event, where we've really shortened that timeline, almost cut it in half for what, you know, for what we can do for the larger events. But smaller events, we can turn it around just in a couple of weeks. You know, we like to have a 4 to 5 week timeline, because we kind of, you know, sandwich them all and fold them all into our production queue. But that's, you know, unheard of for you know, any other medallions that are being made overseas. You've, you know, coming from overseas, the travel, you know, time is a week alone. You know, you make the dye takes a week to 2 weeks, then it's the casting, which is a week, then there's the sanding and the plating and the color fill and all that. Not that we don't have steps here, but we've definitely shortened the timeline overall for customers. And I know a lot of my customers are very happy to not have to worry about that. And also Chinese New Year challenges. That's another whole layer that adds another 4 to 5 weeks onto the timeline. So it's lots of different reasons, and hearing our customers' challenges, that's another reason why we've continued to expand this line based off of what we have seen the needs of our customers to be and what's best, you know, for our world.
Great. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, another important piece, you know, in terms of cheaper products potentially coming in from overseas is the unseen costs in terms of the footprint that creates as well. So, so yeah, when you factor everything in, then it yeah, it makes a lot of sense to yeah, to keep it close to home.
Yes, thank you, Terry. I'm glad you see that.
All right. Yes. Yes. Okay. All right, Kim. Bless you. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's wonderful information. Chris, you're next up. So, yeah, if you could.
All right, thank you, Terry.
Introduce yourself, just in case there's a few people out there that don't know who you are, and then I have your presentation lined up for you. So just let me know whenever you're ready to roll.
Sure, you can put it up as I introduce myself. That's fine. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Kim. Enjoyed some of your comments about the carbon footprint and so forth, and I'll tie into some of those same sentiments. So thank you both. First of all, I'm Chris Memelink. I'm the senior manager here at Headsweats. Greetings from Boulder, Colorado. That's where our sales office is based. I'm honored to be speaking in front of you today. Headsweats is really excited about being the official headwear provider of the U.S. Trail Running Conference. So thank you, Terry. It's exciting for us to be back. Headsweats is a 25-year-old brand that has focused on performance and sustainable headwear. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about us and how we're sustainable in the next couple of slides. But quickly before I start, I want to share my why, because I think it's really important to understand why we do what we do and how it connects to us personally. And just me personally, after I finished my college football career, I was at a mountain biking race and I saw this sticker, a bumper sticker that changed my life. And it simply said, "Kill your TV. Kill your TV." And I remember sitting and looking at it with my wife. I'm like, that's it. That's exactly who I want to be and the path of I want my life to take. The funny part was I was working for Best Buy at the time. So a major electronics store selling TVs. And so I had to make a change. Fast forward at 30 years later, I'm with this amazing brand, Headsweats, where we're eco-friendly, right? And I get to tie my passion of motivating or, you know, getting people outside and with my professional career. So, all right, enough about me. Headsweats, again, as we're excited to be the official headwear provider. And as we start this, I want everyone to ask and really ask themselves, like, what is sustainability? because it really depends on who you ask. You'll get a different answer from everybody, because it means different things to different people. From an apparel aspect, we have to be we want to have as minimal impact on the environment as possible. It's a mindset that I'll come back to a couple of times. But at Headsweats, we're focused on how we can reduce our carbon footprint by conserving water, energy, and fossil fuels. It's all of these that go into it. Next slide. All right, so I want to kick it off with our mission statement. I'll read it to you real quick. Our mission statement is to deliver top-tier customizable performance headwear and apparel utilizing sustainable cutting-edge materials and innovative designs. We enable individuals to achieve their peak potential. What I love about this is that we have sustainability built into it. It's our North Star. Everything we do is built around the environment and the world and how we can reduce our impact on it. We fully acknowledge every garment we make has an impact to the environment, and it's on us. How do we minimize that impact and reduce the impact on the environment? A couple stats of clothing. You can look these up on Google, but I was looking through and doing some research, and I just found it really interesting. Does anybody know that average time or average amount of times you wear a shirt? In the US, it's 7 times. So look at your closet the next time, right? And find out what garments you're wearing. Usually you wear about 60% of your garments you wear over and over again. The average times for it to be considered sustainable by some metrics is 30. So the next time you buy a shirt or a hat, ask yourself, will you wear it 30 times? All right. Next slide, Terry. All right, for Headsweats, proximity is everything. We've been nearshoring since the mid 2015. 2015 through 2017, we moved all our production from China to El Salvador. So we're proudly produced in El Salvador, which is a great, unique spot for us. We're in the hub of America as far as production. We are 1.5 days by boat from El Salvador to Miami, and that's how we enter the U.S. market. Our supply chain is all within 10 miles of our factory. So when we start talking about our carbon footprint, it also has to take into fuels, transit times, how long does it take to move products, and so forth. So it's a bigger piece that we all have to think about. Another nice thing about being in El Salvador is we don't have to work around Chinese New Year. I heard that earlier in Kim's presentation. I'm like, yes, that's right. That's one of the benefits of working with El Salvador. And we're also on the same time zone, which is really nice. And one last thing, too, it's really interesting. Headsweats, we have the largest headwear factory in North America, if you consider Central America, North America. So we're very proud of that as well. Okay, next slide. All right. We're really proud about our quality and manufacturing processes as far as efficiency and sustainability. I'll talk about a little bit on some of the fabrics we use. We partner with a company called Reprieve, which I'll talk about on the next slide. But through our manufacturing process, we are recycling all the scraps. So we actually take shirts that have been used either from other customers or other places, and we can recycle them. And also the scraps that come from our manufacturing process, we put them back into our supply chain, and we're able to make new yarn and spin it into new materials and fabrics and shirts and hats and all kinds of fun things. So for energy wise, our factory, we're up to 79% of our factory's energy comes from renewable resources, whether that's wind, solar, and so forth, or hydro. We're very proud of that. We have a state-of-the-art water recycling and purification system. So we're keeping all those pollutants. Again, every time you make a garment, there are some negative impacts to the environment. So we're focused on keeping those pollutants out of our rivers, lakes, and oceans. And as I mentioned earlier, our supply chain, we're completely vertical. So we manage everything from the fiber to the finished garment. There is no middleman. We're spinning the yarn. We're creating the fabrics. We're cutting and sewing. We're decorating in El Salvador, whether it be embroidery, heat transfers, screen printing. And we can also do those all those techniques in our DC in Atlanta. One other piece that I'm really proud of to tell you, we're a part of the Higg Index. If you're familiar with that, it basically companies opt in, and you measure all parts of your supply chain and your manufacturing process. Companies like Patagonia, North Face, Marmot, other really big manufacturing companies are a part of this. If you're interested, our score is a 79. And again, when I talk about sustainability, I think, you know, it's the change in our minds. It's about a mindset. How can we, the total process of creating a garment, everything from the fiber to the product to the shipping and getting it to the customer, it's a mindset. And how can we conserve water and fossil fuels? Next slide, Terry. All right, so one thing I'm really excited to tell you about is our partnership with Reprieve. So in the US, this is a crazy stat, but 50 million water bottles are thrown away every day in the US. So if you think about that, that's like 1 bottle per person per week gets tossed into a, you know, either a landfill or into a recycling stream. We've partnered with Reprieve to take these water bottles out of landfills or divert them out of landfills and turn them into fabric. And so Reprieve takes these water bottles and they mine them down into flakes, and then they get heated up and then spun into or extracted into yarn and then spun into fabrics. And then we use them in our headwear and apparel that we make. So we like to send it, back into our supply chain and so forth. We have a nice video on how this happens on our website. If you're interested, please check it out. One stat that I'm really proud to tell you is that so far we've been counting how many water bottles we've diverted out of landfills, and we're up to 231 million water bottles that we've pulled out of landfills and put into headwear and apparel garments that we've returned back to our customers. So it's something we're super proud of. All right, Terry, next slide. And then I like to ask our customers, this is something our customers have a lot of fun with too, is like, what's your number? What's important to you? We have a lot of fun of putting the number of how many water bottles goes into a garment and put it on a hat, put it on a garment. And just so you know, for like a trail running conference hat that you'll see here in a couple of weeks at the conference, it takes 1 water bottle to make that hat. And then if you move into like a long sleeve shirt, it's about 5 water bottles. And then a cycling jersey is 7 water bottles. When we do a custom decoration for customers, a lot of our customers ask to put the actual number on the garment. And that's one way as a race organizer, or, when people wear their shirts, they can tell the story that sustainability is important to them. And they know what the impact is on the environment as they're wearing it. So I like to ask that, what's your number? What's important to you? We can put it on a garment or we can remove it. It depends on the customer. All right. Next slide, Terry. All right, finally, and then we're committed to waste management and reducing the effects on the environment. One piece of our manufacturing process we're really proud of is the regeneration process, where we're taking recycled or scraps from our production process and mixing that in with either new yarns from Reprieve or so forth into the process, and also using old race shirts that people have. We can take those and chop them up and turn them into fabric as well. And it's a state-of-the-art piece that we're really proud of in El Salvador, that we take old shirts and scraps and then we put them right back into the supply chain and turn them into yarn and fabrics to be, constructed into hats and apparel again. All right. Thanks, Tara. I have one more slide. Yep. All right. So I just leave you with this. This is a picture of our factory in beautiful El Salvador. As you can see that we are obviously committed to solar panels and electricity there. And I'll leave you with the same question that I started with, and that what does sustainability mean to you? If it's important to you, for sure, it's important to Headsweats. We're here to help you with your sustainability and performance headwear and apparel solutions. So thank you. I look forward to seeing all of you in Knoxville. That's what I had for today. Thanks, Terry.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris. And yeah, really exciting to be working with Headsweats again as the official supplier for headwear for the conference. So yeah, we certainly missed you while you weren't with us, and we're so glad to have you back. So yay.
We're happy to be back.
Yes. Okay. We have a question here from Victoria Allen, and thank you for being out there, Victoria. She says, for a run club new to sustainable uses, what have you found was easiest and least cost to have win-overs on the whole club using? Currently recycling used items for food and gels and drinks already. So Jeff, that might be a good lead into you actually. If I don't know if you have any thoughts on that particular question. I'll take the Headsweats video off. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So Jeff, I don't know if you have any comment on Victoria's question.
Well, I can speak to my personal experience, and that is my own run club would like to be more sustainable. So a couple of years ago, you know, there are water stops set out for the long runs on weekends, and they were using the plastic coated cups. And so they switched now to plain paper cups, which means they can either be easily composted or they can be recycled, as opposed to being specialty recycled in Ann Arbor. I have been trying to get them to switch to those silicone reusable cups that everybody could have and carry with them. I try to remember to carry one with me when I do a long run, and then I don't have to worry about using a paper cup. Sourcing is an issue with that. There are some races that can order hundreds of them at a very affordable cost. My own research found out that for the quantities I wanted, the cost would be prohibitive, but I haven't given up. I'm still looking for ways to do that. Other than that, there's not a lot that we give out at our run club that we have to worry about. Yep. Oh, and when we do have events, we have get-togethers. For example, we'll have breakfast after some runs. So our run club leader will bring oatmeal and things like that, and she'll bring compostable plates and compostable utensils because she knows I'll take that back with me, or she'll compost it herself.
Cool. Brilliant. Thank you, Jeff. So I'm ready to roll with your presentation, your slides. If shall I bring them up here? Or you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not ready to start those just yet. I'll just start by saying, yeah, I'm Jeff Jackson. I own Happy Planet Running. I provide zero waste event services to small to medium-sized events. That means fewer than 100 athletes to a few thousand athletes. That's my niche. That's the area that I want to serve primarily. I am a trail runner. I am an ultra endurance athlete, an affliction for which there is no known cure. And the only effective treatment is to keep running ultras. So that's what I'm doing. And as part of that, I'm also an environmental nut, because the last thing I want to see where I'm running along a beautiful trail with gorgeous views and trees and everything else is to see somebody's garbage lying by the trail, or to see all those cups and all the cardboard and all the beautiful recyclable stuff being thrown into a dumpster at the end of the event. And this all came to a head one year. I just finished a race and I saw the park rangers packing up bags of trash from the event, and I knew the park recycled. So I went over to the ranger and I said, I'm just curious, how much of this is going to be recycled? And they said, well, none of it. It's not sorted. And I just thought, geez, there's got to be a better way. Somebody has got to do something about this. And of course, I realized, well, that somebody's got to be me. So I did some research. I found a race that did zero waste in Grand Rapids. I signed up for their green team. I went to that event. I served that event sorting and collecting and all that. At the end of it, they had piles and piles of bags of recyclables and piles of bags of compostables. The landfill didn't fill a shoebox. And I said, this is the way to do it. I took that model back to Ann Arbor, where I live, to my favorite running company. They do over 20 events a year. And I said, I would love to do this for you. And perhaps to their everlasting regret, they said, okay. And so in 2016, I did many of their events, Zero Waste, as a volunteer, and learned the process and how it fit their company. The following year, I picked up another company and their events, and I thought, well, I might as well incorporate, if only to cover my expenses. And that was 2017. I founded Happy Planet Running. Since then, I have served over 200 events. I have data from every single race that I have served, and I have a report from every single race that I have served. And I've managed to divert over 50 tons of waste. I've done over 200 events. And here we are, keeping on going. So what I do is I can support the entire life cycle of a race sustainability-wise. So I can be in it from the beginning, from the planning stage, to sourcing sustainable materials, to being there on site and doing real-time waste collection and sorting, and then collecting all the data and posting the results on my website along with the sustainability report. So I cover all of that. And so I just want to give you a sort of insight as to how I approach an event and the kinds of materials that I have to deal with. So why don't we bring up that first slide, Terry? That's the 5 R's chart. Yeah, so I found this on the net. I can't take credit for this, but I'm sure you've all heard of the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle. Well, there's really 2 R's ahead of that. And that's what I try to bring to a race company when I offer to do zero waste for them or they ask me to. And the first one there is to rethink. Really, the best way for an event to be zero waste is not to generate any waste. So let's take t-shirts for an example. Okay. Do you as an event really need to offer t-shirts? When I started running races back around 2008, 2009, you just got a t-shirt. It said specify your t-shirt size. It didn't ask if you wanted one or not. And that was great for a while. I mean, there are still some both cotton and tech shirts I still wear regularly because I love them. But after a while, you run out of that and you go, the last thing I need is another t-shirt. So the pandemic did one positive thing, at least. It sort of awakened the race companies to saying they had to rethink some of their fundamental assumptions, like, does everybody have to have a t-shirt all the time? So many races now, the t-shirt is optional. So you as a runner can refuse. You can say, no, I don't want a t-shirt, and maybe I can get a discount on my race entry, or the t-shirt's an optional extra you pay extra for. But what about not t-shirts? For example, some trail races I go to give out socks instead of a t-shirt. That's great. I go through socks a lot faster than I go through shirts. Or a buff. There are a couple of buffs that I wear all the time. In 3 seasons, I'll wear a buff. So that's all wonderful. And Anthony, I love the idea of the digital bib. I mean, who prints out a boarding pass these days when you go fly? Right? The boarding pass is on your phone. And this isn't going to work for every race just yet, but any trail ultra I go to now is requiring you to bring your phone and to have a course map on an app on your phone. So why not have your boarding, why not have your race bib on your phone as well? When you show up, they scan it and they say, congratulations, you're registered, and you go out and do your thing, and they can track you real time doing the same thing. That's rethinking, right? And it's also reduction because you're not producing as much waste. So I try to get into an event as soon as possible and say, guys, let's rethink this. So rethink what things can be optional. What things can you reduce? Plastic water bottles, a key example. One of my clients went from using plastic water bottles at the finish line to plain paper cups and using this gigantic water tank called a water monster. And people fill their own cups and they just keep their cups till they're done with them. And then they give them to us at the zero waste station. Well, they're plain paper, so they can be recycled or composted. And I don't have to worry about those stupid plastic bottles and all the loose bottle caps. being dropped on the ground everywhere. So that reduces my labor. It reduces the volume of recycling I have to deal with. Then I say, okay, you got what you got. How about reusing some of it? For example, if you've ever put up fencing at a race, cable ties are ubiquitous. And at the end, they go through and they cut them off. Well, you can get reusable cable ties. I have not been able to sell any of my clients on those, but I do have them and I do show them off when I can. So it's an evolution. You get there. But there are things you can reuse, and there's some creative ways to do this. We'll go back to t-shirts as an example. At one event, it was a very hot day, and at some events they hand out these cloths that they soak in ice water. So as a runner, I can slap it on the back of my neck or put it under my hat and cool down. Well, the race company cut up some old t-shirts and used those as the rags. And then we collected the rags at the end, and if they were good enough to be reused, I saved them, and if not, I threw them in textile recycling. Another company, at the end of their year, they held what was called the leftovers run. And so the fees were collected as donations for a charity. And when you showed up, you got a t-shirt from a random event that they had leftovers of. When you finished, you got a random finisher medal. Your race bib, you got a random bib from one of their other races. I declined the t-shirt, and I wound up with a pink race bib from a Goddess Series race. What the heck? I'm a trail runner. I have no shame. I wore it with pride. But this is the kind of things that you can do. It didn't consume any more resources. In fact, they got rid of a lot of stuff they'd have otherwise had to keep in storage or throw away or donate. Then finally, when you get down, you've exhausted all the other R's, there's recycle, right? And that means turn it into something productive. That's not just send it to a recycling center. That means taking your food waste and your compostable utensils and plates and napkins and turning that all back into good, clean dirt that can grow more food and keep it going. As well as finding other uses for something, a different use as it may be. And then, of course, your very last resort is if it's got to go in the landfill, it's got to go in the landfill. So this is the ideal. This is the model. This is the mindset I try to bring to a race company. Now I'll talk briefly about reality. So Terry, if you want to bring up the other page. So when I come to an event, I write up a detailed plan, a sustainability plan for each event, and I bring it to the event, and I have it available for my staff, and that's my interns that I hire, plus any volunteers that I get to serve on the green team. And among the documents I bring is this waste stream guide. So this tells my staff and my volunteers what goes where. So I have the biggest waste streams are compostable and then standard, which you might call single stream recycling, the standard recycling. So as you can see, compostable being a third of the municipal waste stream on average, which also holds true in an event. It's about a third of the waste stream. That's a big piece that a lot of races don't try to capture, but I insist on it because it's such an important contribution that we can make to making the event sustainable. So that's the food waste, that's anything that's plain paper, it's soiled cardboard. If you use a product from World Centric, cups, forks, stuff like that, it's all made from organic plastic like corn, soybeans, sugarcane, bamboo. All that stuff can be recycled. So we capture as much of that as we can. And then along with the standard recycling, this is where we get into the specialty items. And this is what allows me as Happy Planet Running to go from, let's say, a diversion rate of 85% to 95% or more, up to 99% in many races, is my ability to deal with the specialty items. So this is things like plastic bag and wrap. That's been mentioned before. Let me tell you how much plastic wrap comes out of a typical race, right? T-shirts can be bagged on occasion. But by far the race medals, the awards are the biggest contributors. especially the heavy ones that come from China. Those come individually wrapped, and then there are groups of 10 that are wrapped in more plastic, and then the whole box itself is wrapped in plastic. So I can come away with, say, you know, the Dexter Ann Arbor run is 3,000 people. I come away with 2 huge bags of plastic wrap. Now they weigh about 8 pounds each, but it's a lot of volume to deal with. And this is not easy to recycle. Fortunately, we have a source in the Ann Arbor area that will take them and recycle them. Styrofoam is the same kind of thing. The styrofoam use has come way down, but I still am able to capture it. And then there are things like race bibs. Now, Anthony, we talked about race bibs. Really, the biggest issue with race bibs being recyclable isn't the printing per se. It's the fact that the polyethylene is such a tight weave that it will tangle up the recycling machinery. They can't deal with it, so they won't accept it. So what do you do with it? Well, DuPont, like you mentioned, that makes Tyvek, they had a take-back program until they didn't, but they didn't bother updating their website. And then for a while they didn't, and then a couple years ago I checked again and it was back on, but it was a different process. So the last time I talked to them, they said, yes, we accept them, but you have to mail them to us, and here's the address of the plant we want you to send it to. So I saved a bunch of race bibs and sent them that way. But actually, the easier solution for me is to send them to a company called TerraCycle. TerraCycle specializes in hard-to-recycle items, and you see everything there under that little orange header. That's everything I send to TerraCycle, and then they find ways to recycle it. So that includes things like, you know, the goo wrappers. Performance Nutrition sponsors TerraCycle, so I can send in goo wrappers for free. And at some races, I collect maybe 10 pounds worth of used goo wrappers, and I'm able to send that to TerraCycle for free. So thank you very much, Performance Nutrition, who makes goo products. Race bibs, I can throw them in their sporting goods zero waste box. That's a box I have to pay for. I add a little fee to part of to what I charge for a race to help subsidize the cost of those boxes. Disposable gloves, I have a box for that. Mylar, you know, those space blankets you get at the end of a marathon. Balloons, party supplies, even cable ties. All of that can go into a particular zero waste box TerraCycle offers. So that's a service that I offer. I do all that extra sorting for my clients. So in the end, we come down to the things that are in the gray there. Chewing gum, well, technically TerraCycle can handle that even today, but I don't bother with it. Sticky tape, anything like diapers, dog poop, nope, can't handle that. PPE, and then anything you're not sure about, when in doubt, throw it out. So yes, I still generate, there's still landfill that comes out of a typical race, but it's way less than it would be normally. I think maybe the best quote I ever heard about my service was that this one company I work with in Ann Arbor, the race director is an unreformed hippie. He still does a race every year called Run Woodstock, and that's coming up, and that's for a weekend. It's a weekend of peace, love, music, and running. And you can wear tie-dye there, and there's live music, and everybody gets their hippie on while they're running. So it's a lot of fun, but it generates a lot of waste. And somebody interviewed him once, and he said, I used to feel guilty about how much we were throwing away at the end of a race. And he says, I don't feel guilty anymore. So that's really, I think, the best testament that the race directors out there, they care, they want to be sustainable. It can be tough to be affordable. It does cost more than a trash dumpster does. But there are enough people out there who say, that's okay, we'll figure it out because we want to be sustainable. So that's me.
Jeff, wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah, some really great ideas there. Yeah, I love the way you kind of start with the mindset, because that's where everything starts, isn't it? Mm-hmm. With the way we're thinking. And it's so great that you know, each of you have come up with ideas that you know, well-known saying about, you know, it's like insanity, definition of insanity is like, you know, doing the same thing but expecting different results. And it's like, you know, unless we do something different and take some different actions, then things will continue in the same way. And so so kudos to each of you for taking action, and thank you so much for being a part of this. Now, I just want to check in terms of time. We've just gone over an hour now, so I do have a video that I recorded last week with Tarkine Running and our friends over in Australia. They're a running shoe company, and they have featured on one of our webinars before. But the recording is about 12 minutes long. So so Jeff, Chris, Kim, and Anthony, if you are kind of time restricted at the moment, then feel free to drop off. But if you do need to drop off, then I'd just like to say thank you for your contribution, and yeah, we look forward to seeing each of you in Knoxville. It's great to have a complete panel where every one of you is going to be in Knoxville. So yeah, really excited about that too. And thank you for your contribution to everything that you do for the sport.
Sure. Terry, can I just comment really quick on Jeff's comment about import metals? So yeah. I actually put it in the comments for everyone to see, but for our line, something in terms of our sustainability, anything, even if we are producing in our facility overseas, they are not packaged in plastic, and we do not use plastic packing tape either. It's paper bags for all of the, you know, all of the metals, all the product, and paper packing tape. Like I said, there might be the occasion if it's a customer request based off of what they're purchasing that it might, but that's really based off of customer requests. Say they had a retail item or something that they wanted, but I would say 98% of what we are producing, again, is all, you know, part of our sustainability initiative, that we are not using plastic even when it's coming from overseas. So just wanted to quickly make that point. I think we're probably the only manufacturer that is executing in that way. So just wanted to mention that.
Thank you, Kim. Kudos to you. Okay, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to bring up the video. Hey, hi. So before I play it, this is Sam Burke from Tarkine Running. Tarkine Running are a shoe manufacturer based in Australia. And they've actually set out, you know, Jeff, it's really interesting you started off with mindset. They actually set out with the mindset of producing eco-friendly shoes. And I'll let Sam kind of take on here from more. But yeah, it's very interesting. Again, really interesting kind of thoughts in terms of the process of manufacturing and dealing with shoes. Good evening, everybody. It's morning for me here, and it's evening for my colleague Sam Burke on the video here from Australia. But before we get going with conversation with Sam, I just wanted to introduce a few kind of stats and facts in terms of running shoes. They probably, for a lot of people, may not be, it might be surprising information. So globally, 85% of trainers end up being incinerated or in landfill. 300 million pairs of trainers are thrown into landfill each year in the UK alone. Only 15% are recycled or redistributed. Now, shoes can take up to 1,000 years to decompose. And while they sit in landfills, they're leaching plasticizers, heavy metals, and other toxic chemicals. Not good for it. Industry source said it costs us too much money and the end product isn't worthwhile. This is talking about recycling. Taking all the different materials of a shoe apart is very time-consuming and inefficient. So we can't recycle them without it being a total money drain. Yeah, so that was an industry source talking about making shoes more sustainable. So manufacturers are working on this though, and we are fortunate to have the opportunity to speak to Sam Burke at Tarkine Running, who have developed a solution. So Sam, welcome to the US Trail Running Conference webinar. Good to see you again, mate.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here again, and yeah, hopefully this gets through and it's nice and clear and everyone can hear me, and yeah, I get the message across.
Okay, excellent, excellent. So, so Sam, fill us in a little in terms of a short history about Tarkine and what is it you're up to in Australia?
Yeah, so look, we were founded about 2 years ago now, maybe a bit over 2 years ago, and we've come a pretty long way since then. We have a successful trail running shoe called the Trail Devil that is sold out of season 1 nearly. We've got season 2 launching in about 6 weeks. We had our first road shoe, the Goshawk, which we actually launched the company with via Kickstarter campaign in 2021, and we're up to season 3 of that that's about to come out. And then we've just launched a new road shoe called the Autopilot, and we're a kind of a grassroots hardcore running company is what we like to think of ourselves, but it's more of a social enterprise too, in the sense that we work very closely with environmental organizations, and we claim, and our goal is to be the most eco-friendly running shoe brand in the world, right? And all the issues that you were speaking of before in terms of recycling has been the core of what we've been trying to address since we got into the game. Our first shoe was made using mainly recycled materials, and even had a biodegradable sock liner or insert or insole or whatever you refer to them as. And we went really hard down that recycled kind of road. And one of the problems we face is that was actually a bit too eco-friendly, in the sense that the insert was biodegrading too quickly, especially when people weren't wearing socks with their shoes, and so we're using as much recycled content as possible, but having an emphasis on just quality products and products that last a long time. But we'll also just put in as much energy as we can in recycling these shoes post-use. It is true, obviously, that where your inside source or whatever said that it's not it's going to send companies broke, or it's not cost efficient or whatnot to recycle these shoes post-use. And I can tell you that is bullshit. We can afford to recycle these shoes post-use. Most companies just don't wish to do it. If you read the latest quarterly earnings report from Deckers Corp on the NISI, which owns Hoka, you can see how much money they make. They can afford to do it. If you read Nike's latest quarterly earnings reports, they can afford to do it. Adidas is the same. They're all the same. Okay, they are. I'm sorry to say it the way it is, but they are absolutely talking bullshit. Everyone can afford to do it. It's just, do you want to pay the bills? Do you want to take responsibility for these products? We pay a cost per kilo to recycle shoes. The technology's there. It's not an Australian technology. There's technology around the entire world to recycle shoes. We, with our recycling partner here, we can turn the midsole and outsole into mats, like plastic mats, yoga mats, hospital grade mats. We can turn the upper. Not all upper fabric can be recycled. Okay, it's not as if it's like this magic. Every single bit of the shoe can be recycled. Some of it needs to go to landfill, but we can any of the parts of the upper which aren't too damaged, you can reuse them. You can make certain materials out of fabric, wallets, all sorts of garments, tougher fabrics like bags, all sorts of stuff. And but it costs money. You need to pay. You need to pay for the shipping. Hopefully customers will pay for the shipping back to you, but then you need to pay for the shipping from the warehouse or from the storage facility to the recycling center. Then you need to pay the company needs to pay the recycling center on a per ton or per kilo, whatever a negotiate basis. Then it's humans that obviously are then humans and machines are then cutting these products up, putting them, sorting them, and recycling them, and this all costs money. But it's a pretty lame excuse to say they can't afford it. I mean, that the margins on some of these products, I'm not saying our margins are that big because we're a startup and our overheads are quite high, but there are margins there. I mean, I'm not going to go through what the margins are for the big companies, but I can tell you that they have mass scale at work here. They have more than enough margin, and they can easily afford $3-4 per shoe to spend on recycling. Yes, it might affect their short-term profits, but my argument is that it's going to help their long-term profits because they're going to be seen as doing the right thing by the planet. And I just think it's really short-sighted to say that you can't afford to do it. They're not taking responsibility for the life cycle of their products, which in this day and age, if you're a company that doesn't want to take responsibility for, what you're putting into the world, then as far as I'm concerned, you don't have, a place in the market. You should hopefully be run out of business in time.
Yeah. Great point, Sam. Thank you so much for that. For majority of our audience is going to be in North America. For folks in North America who aren't familiar with Tarkine, then is your recycling, are you accepting shoes at end of life in America now as well?
We will be very soon. So this point in time, so we don't have a center in North America. We don't have a fulfillment center, so we're not sending shoes direct to North America at the moment. So we don't have a warehouse space. We will in early 225, we'll have warehouse space, and we'll have tens of thousands of shoes shipping out from a North American facility. That recycling part in place, but they don't want to accept smaller numbers of shoes at the moment, because for them to make money, they need to be taking on at least 1,000 pairs of shoes at a time, right, to recycle, because that's the model. It's all about getting bulk numbers of shoes and us paying them to recycle it. So obviously, that recycling center is organized in the States, but we can't yet send shoes there because we're not properly set up there. So, but we do sell a lot of shoes into North America, right? In between 10 to 50% of all sales are into North America from Australia. Shipping's really, so it's our second biggest market already. So what we're saying to these is just, please just store the shoes. It won't be that long to wait. Just whack them in the back of your wardrobe or in the shed. And then when we have that partner up and running next year, boom, you can send them to us and they'll get recycled.
Fantastic. I mean, the other point that you mentioned earlier on is that I've heard this from other people as well, that the shoe life of Tarkine shoes is probably longer than many people would expect from a pair of shoes as well.
Yeah, I mean it is, and I always say that with a grain of salt, because you always have the odd person who goes through it really quickly because a huge bunion on their foot that doesn't work right. When there's so many idiosyncrasies with feet and stuff. But as a whole, our shoes are very durable. We put a lot of energy into that and making sure that the fabric is very strong, and everything about the shoe is durable. It is hard to tell people how many miles they can get out of a pair of shoes, because we're all different. Some of us are very heavy and run on the road mainly, and some of us are very, very light and we run only on the trails, and obviously there's different physics happening here, but for these different humans, and but I think as a whole, if you look at our products, they last a long time for sure. We're trying not to put cheap crap out into the world, is what I'm getting at.
Good. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And we've had enough of cheap crap, really. I think that's a really good point. So for folks that are interested in trying Tarkine shoes, then you've got shoe retailers that are stocking them now. So or do people order online direct from you in Australia?
So in the States right now, go to tarkine.com and order online. There are a couple dozen retailers in the States that we're chatting with and that will be stocking us starting in 225. So it will become a lot easier to buy via their online shops. And then we'll also have a specific Tarkine.com US store shoes will be shipping out directly from a warehouse space within North America. And obviously the shoes will arrive a bit quicker. The exchange process will be a bit quicker, all that sort of stuff. And it will also allow us to open the doors to the recycling system that we have in place in Australia. It is a bit, it takes a bit of time setting these systems up. It's a bit like setting up supply chains, the whole recycling thing. But once it's set up, it usually should run pretty smoothly. So buy online Tarkine.com, or during 225 we'll be rolling out more retail shops in North America.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, and remind everybody, what's the name of the trail shoe they should look out for from you guys?
The Trail Devil.
Trail Devil. Okay, brilliant, brilliant.
Believe in the Run did a good review on them last year. Yeah, last year. Yep. They'll review our season 2 as well. Our season 2 is a bit upgraded. It's a bit lighter. It's got pebbacks in the midsole, and it's a bit bouncier. The upper's a bit kind of a little bit softer, but also just we've taken away a few weak points in the upper. So I think it's an improved shoe. You're obviously always trying to improve every season, but it doesn't always. You got that favorite shoe that you kind of loved, and then they try and upgrade the next season, and you don't like it as much. So try not to do that.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, Sam, I look forward to getting a look at the version 2 when it comes out. And thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it, Sam, and your input on this this important discussion, talking about sustainability in the sport. So thank you for being a game changer and disrupting the sport and showing us what's possible. So really appreciate it.
Thanks very much for having me.
Okay, pleasure, Sam. All right, so okay, so Jeff, thank you so much. I missed off the coupon code. So it's USTRC 20. Yep. And Jeff, what do you mean by EPR for shoe manufacturers?
I mean extended producer responsibility, which is now becoming law in a few states, and hopefully it's gathering momentum now, right? So if you fall under EPR, you have to make some provision for end of life of your product. And that means either taking it back, right? Taking it back so you can recycle it, or you pay a certain amount of money to let other people do the recycling.
Right.
Personally, I'm in favor of option 1 because it's too easy to just write a check and wash your hands all over again. I would rather see a manufacturer, whether it be shoes, shirts, whatever, say, during the design process, what is our end of life plan and how are we going to be responsible about it? I still work for a medical device software company. And one of the things, if you make a medical device, you have to plan for end of life. You have to say, when this is no longer a device we can sell, what do we do? Do we let our existing customers continue to use it and then get rid of it? Or do we issue a recall and take them all back and replace them with a newer model? That kind of thing. As a device manufacturer, you have to consider that. So why not everybody?
Yeah. Great point, Jeff. Yeah, thank you. It's I mean, it's especially scary when you look at the stats in terms of how many shoes are produced each year and sold, and
as much as I like the idea of soles for souls, I use Got Sneakers personally to collect old shoes and send those in. Even so, I'm not 100% confident that those shoes are actually cut up, shredded, and turned into new products, as opposed to being shipped overseas to Africa or to Indonesia, just because of the stories I've read, where a newspaper put tracking tags inside some old sneakers and found them in a dump in Thailand, that kind of thing. That's the last thing I want to do.
Yeah,
I want to make sure they really are turned into running tracks and things like that.
Wow. Okay. Thank you so much. Everybody out there, we've still got a few watching live as well, so thank you for your endurance. You're obviously trail runners, so that's good news. Jeff, Chris, Anthony, and Kim, and Sam as well, although he's not with us live. Thank you so much for your time and your investment and also your work individually as companies and brands to to help clean up the planet and make sure that we're not producing less of a footprint than we have done before. So, so thank you for being innovators in your own way. Yeah, we look forward to seeing you for the next webinar, which I believe I'll check this and change it on the recording afterwards. But I think it's September the 17th. So, and we're going to be looking at then how we can use photography to supercharge your race. So the impact that imagery has to supercharge your race. So thank you so much, everybody. And thank you also to everybody that is going to listen into this recording. We're going to have the recording available on our YouTube channel, available tomorrow. So, and Chris and Kim and Anthony and Jeff, then I'll also share the recording link with you as well. So thank you for your support of this webinar, and I will now end the stream. Thank you.
Thanks,
so
Terry.
Guys,
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay,
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, everybody. See you in Knoxville.
Yes, indeed. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.